Okay, we're going to do example 2 that's on page 101. And so this is, let's read the question. Ricardo jumps into a taxi to travel 8 blocks west and 3 blocks north across town. Assuming there are no one-way streets, how many routes can the taxi driver take traveling only west or north? Okay, so the picture of it would be, you have a grid, and Ricardo is going west and north. So if he starts here, he's always going to go north or west. And so he has 3 blocks. Let's see if I can get all of them in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more. All right, and he's going to go across town to that point. But he can again only go north and west. He can't go south and he can't go back east. So this ends up being a repeated object because if we think about the number of ways to get there, if I'm going north and then west, or if I go west and then north, it's repeated. We do need to count them twice, but we don't want to double count. So what you do in a case like this is we're going to count the number of blocks that it would take Ricardo to get from here across town. So we can think of it that he's always going to have to go 3 blocks north and 8 blocks west. And so his total he's traveling is 11 blocks. But then again, we want to take out repetition. So we go 11 factorial, and then the repeated blocks would be the north and the west. So this is just another example of identical or repeated objects. Okay, so we're going to pause. I'm going to let you practice one more time with this idea of repeated objects. And you're going to page 101, which is the same place where your other practice problems were. And you're going to do 4C, 6, and 9. So again, once you've completed them, you've checked your answers, you're feeling pretty good about it, then you can actually begin your homework, which is in your lesson packet. And all of those questions pertain to repeated objects. I'm going to, again, pause. You can pause it, and then if you want to come back on and see some of these explanations, I will take the time and I'll go through them. Otherwise, you can speed through it, you can be done, and you can begin your homework. Okay, so to go through number 4C only. So it's the idea of a repeated object on a grid. So it says complete the diagram in part A and determine the total number of routes that Ricardo's taxi could take. So the only difference is the size of the grid. What they wanted you to do in parts A and B is to look at the pattern. So we've done this one, so we're going to move on. Okay, number 6. Gareth works at a video rental store. He has 6 copies each of 3 different new DVD releases to put on a shelf. In how many different ways can he arrange the DVDs on the shelf? So what we're thinking of, this is kind of, it's not like the letters where it really stands out to you as being something that's repeated. Since he has 6 copies each of 3 different new DVD releases, you can think of it like each of those packs of 6 DVDs are repeated objects. They're identical. So we want to think about first, how many total DVDs does he have? So if he has 6 copies of 3 each, then he has 18 total. But whether you have, if I even think about a picture of 3 DVDs, or 6 copies, I guess, of 3 different types, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if these are all the Terminator, well, the order of the Terminator, since they're repeated and they're identical, doesn't matter. So this arrangement, and if I started switching them around, it's the same arrangement. So I'm going to have to divide out this repetition. Well, each 6 is repeated. So I would have 18 factorial, and I would divide out 6 factorial 3 times for each of those identical DVDs. Okay, now in part B though, in how many different ways can the DVDs be arranged if the copies of each one must be grouped together? So now we can think of it that if they stay together, so it'd be like when you buy that series and it's all packaged up in a group. So now these have to go together. So now you're really only thinking that I have 3 objects. So I would have 3 factorial ways of arranging those. Okay, so that's, I think we have one more, number 9. So which of these expressions represents the number of permutations of 3 identical objects plus 2 other different objects? So they're giving you the answer, just which one is the answer. So 3 identical objects plus 2 other means I have a total of 5. Okay, so right there with multiple choice, I can start to eliminate questions. So I'm down to B or D. And it has 3 identical. These other 2, you don't know anything about them. They're not necessarily identical. It doesn't give you that information. So that means you're just dividing out the 3 repeating. Okay, so hopefully you're comfortable with repeated objects. Let me know.